People would buy a new home, and they were so proud, and they'd say, darling, it's so good. There's only one problem, darling, the sink. No water comes out, like drip, drip, drip. And darling, I have beautiful hair, but I can't do anything because in the shower, the water doesn't come out. Darling, I want to get out of this house. I hate it. And I say to them, take off the restrictor. But now they made the restrictor where you can't take it off unless you have a blowtorch, okay? Like our auto workers do, actually.
I mean, I don't know what this dumbass dude's talking about. If you buy a new home and the water ain't working, I wouldn't have bought that home. The only water restrictors that are on your plumbing lines are the ones that are supposed to restrict the flow to increase your pressure. Because if you ain't got the right amount of pressure in your plumbing lines, no water's coming to you. The only way to increase water volume into your house is to get a bigger water line. There's no damn restrictor to take off. So if you don't think I know what I'm talking about, watch this dude up here that did the experiment.
If you're homeowners, you deal with potentially what you call water pressure problems. People don't understand that it's probably actually a water volume problem. It's not a pressure problem. 40 pounds of pressure. Okay. Now, because it's interesting, because this hose is small, it still has resistance to the water flowing through. It still registers about 15 pounds of water. There's an interesting point. When you restrict the flow of water, you increase the pressure. And you know that. If you put your finger over the opening of your garden hose, well, that's more pressure, but it's less water. And that's the same principle for when you're taking a shower, you have a shower head. It makes the water have more pressure. Same thing with your sink. Same thing, like I said, with the garden hose. So we're going to shut this off. This is an 1.5 inch line. Pretty much identical water pressure. When I turn this on, you remember how this was spraying out? This has no restriction on it. That's all you're going to get out of it. Because the flow of water is not being restricted, it's less pressure. Unless I restrict the flow. Then I get more pressure. You'll also notice that the gauge went down to 0. Why did it go down to 0? Because there's no restriction on the flow of water. The gauge drops to 0. 3/4 inch hose, it drops to about 15 because the garden hose is still restricting the flow. So that's the beginnings of the difference between pressure and volume. If you have a 3/4 inch line, you're not going to service your home, even though it looks like more pressure. An 1.5 inch line, you could have a 3-family home. So what we're going to do is, you think same pressure, it should fill up a water bottle in the identical amount of time, except for the difference in gallons per minute that the 1.5 inch line will provide. If pressure is the same, the amount of water is the same. This is the definitive test to just easily show you, not true. We'll give the 3/4 inch line a bit of a head start, and we'll see what it takes to fill the water bottle. 1.25 inch line, I'm going to get a little wet. I'm going to get real wet. But look at the difference. Look at the difference. Over double. Over double. Same water pressure, over double the amount of water. Okay, so, from these simple demonstrations, you should clearly understand that the gallons per minute, the flow rate, that's what increases, improves your quality of life, that you have enough water for all your fixtures. Pressure is a separate and distinct issue. It's not usually the problem you're going to deal with. And this should really clearly be an example as to why that's true.
So if you know Trump don't know what the fuck he's talking about, give me a follow, and thanks for watching, everyone.